Hey everyone, I'm David Berkowitz back with another edition of AI Insiders by AI Marketers Scaled by Marketecture, and very excited. I mean, I'm always excited with our guest today, but Peter is a longtime friend, someone I've gotten to know very well in New York and gotten to bond over AI and family stuff and all kinds of things where our paths have intersected. And he's someone well before I got to know him as a person. I got to know him by reputation because he's been one of the most prolific masters of PR and communications and communicating what PR and comms are all about. He's now got this incredible platform, Source of Sources, where you can be a source or request sources for any journalistic endeavors. It's a tremendous free resource. It's an incredible Source of Sources conference debuting in New York, February 11th. We'll do a drawing for some passes by the end of this. Peter, I can't say enough about you, but I have to. I need to let you speak sometime. So thanks for being our source of wisdom today.
That was, yeah, thank you. Glad to be here. That was a conversation. No, it's good. I recognize a lot of people. So hi everyone, to those I know and those who I don't. I see Dave, I see Savio, I see, yeah, good people here. So, but I wouldn't expect anything less from something that you're running, Berkowitz. So
Thank you.
I appreciate you having this, and I'm glad to be here for a little bit just to do a little bit of chatting on AI and the whole PR, where we see the PR marketing advertising, mostly PR thing going with AI. I think that I didn't prepare a deck or anything, but I will tell you what I've seen. So long story short, I've been doing PR since '96. I started my career. I had one job out of college. I was one of three founders of the newsroom at America Online back in Vienna, Virginia. For those in this room under 35, AOL used to be the internet. It was how we talked to everyone in the world, and we invented it. So I worked for America Online down in Vienna, Virginia, and we built AOL News. I took AOL along with a bunch of other people from about 500,000 members to well over 10 million. It was an amazing time, but I left AOL in '96 and moved back to New York. Actually, no, I moved back in '97, '98, and the internet was just getting started as many people knew it. I had all this internet knowledge from Virginia, and I said I should start a PR firm, and I did. And that was my first ever working for myself. It was an agency called the Geek Factory. If anyone remembers the New York New Media Association, back in those days, remember NINMA? So I ran Geek Factory. We were below a sweatshop on 38th Street and 8th Avenue. We repped clients like Napster and Juno and who else? We rep AOL and just, I mean, it was a blast. We ate, I wanted to write after I sold the agency in '01, I wanted to write an autobiography called We Ate All the Sushi and Drank All the Alcohol. There's none left, but it was an amazing experience. And I left. When I sold the agency to a larger agency, I walked away and I tried to take a year off. That lasted a week. I realized I didn't know how to relax. I blamed my mother. But I wound up consulting in PR for years and years and years, doing a whole bunch of other things. And eventually, just because I have massive ADHD and talk to everyone, I had a giant Rolodex, and reporters would call me from all over the world. Hey, you know everyone. I'm doing a story on whatever. Who do you know? And I'd find them someone. And that started taking way too much time. So I turned it into a mailing list. And that mailing list became Help a Reporter Out, or Harrow. And Harrow blew up between 2007 and 2010, added about 300,000 people to it, selling ads, and it was incredibly successful. And it was acquired in 2010 by a company called Vocus, then became Cision. Now Cision is part of PR Newswire. I walked away. Long story short, over the next 15 years, I did a bunch of other things. I wrote books. I have a couple of best-selling books on marketing, a couple of best-selling books on ADHD and neurodiversity in the workplace, because I'm massively ADHD. And just kept getting emails from people over and over saying that Harrow has gone to shit and it's been ruined ever since you sold it, and why don't you start it over? And I didn't want to do that because you can't go home again. But because I have ADHD, I wound up starting it over. And so I run a company now called Source of Sources. Source of Sources is about a 50,000 person strong mailing list supported by advertisers. We have 2 emails that go out every day to 50,000 people. Um, each email has roughly 10 to 20 queries from journalists all over the world, ranging from New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Associated Press, NBC News, CBS News, Market Watch, whatever. You read the emails. It takes you about 10 seconds to scan the table of contents. If you are knowledgeable about something a journalist is looking for, you reply to the journalist directly, and you can get quoted in the media. And that's it. It is unbelievably simple. It's not HTML. It's all text. Email, I still believe, is still the killer app. It's doing well. At some point, I'm sure I'll sell it again, but it's a very easy process as long as people don't abuse it. The thing that took Harrow to its death was the rise of SEO farms, and SEO companies out of Asia and Middle East and Africa who reply to every single query hoping for a backlink. And that really sort of destroyed the credibility that Harrow had. And one of the things that it did was it wound up causing journalists to go other places. So when I relaunched SOS, my rule was very simple. No spam farms. Pitch on topic. If you pitch off topic, I ban you. I ban entire countries. Most of the Middle East and a lot of Asia cannot use Source of Sources because it's all spam farms. One of the other rules I've had to put into play is no AI, because people are very confused when it comes to PR. They believe that AI can do all the writing for them, and reporters will love that. Here's a tip. Reporters do not love that. Reporters can instantly tell if you've written your pitch in AI. They don't bother even going through AI checkers or anything like that. They simply know. If you've been a journalist for any amount of time, you know what's real and you know what's not. The problem is that the small businesses, entrepreneurial type people who are doing so much more with so much less have succumbed to it will save me time and I'm sure it's just as good as if I write theory about AI. And that has, without them realizing it, that's destroyed their ability to get most of their press. I'm not anti-AI. I'm a big fan of it. I use it frequently. I'm a single dad to a 12-year-old daughter, and I can tell you that AI has single-handedly retaught me math, because she's in 7th grade now, and I finally understand the math she's doing when prior to AI, I gave up after 3rd grade. They don't do, for those who don't have kids, they do not do the same math we learned. The numbers sound the same, but that shit is just entirely different. They do not do the same math that the way we learned it, and it's really annoying. Mm-hmm. So, I'm a huge fan. I use it constantly, but here's the thing. From a PR standpoint, if you are not a good writer, AI will not make you a better writer. Pretty much, if you're not good at anything, AI will not make you better at that thing. If you're not good at writing, what AI will do is it will allow you to broadcast to the world that you're not good at writing, and it will allow you to do it faster and at scale. That is a problem. So what winds up happening is that people go in, they say, here's my product, please write a press release about it. Or here's my product, here's the query that I got off SOS that the reporter wants. I need you to quickly write a pitch to the reporter about my product's great. And that will immediately be thrown in the trash, and the reporter will not pay attention to you ever again. Now, that being said, there is very much a place to use AI when you are trying to get media attention. There are several places you can use it. One of the first things that I strongly recommend everyone does is use AI to cultivate a list of journalists who write about your market, your segment, your whatever it is that you're trying to throw out there. It does it much better than Google does. Find me 20 reporters who work in print, who work online, who have in the past 6 months covered the following subjects and use the following terms. By saying use the following terms and throwing those terms into your request, your prompt, what you're doing is you're avoiding the cursory sort of pay-for-play stories, right? There are a lot of websites out there who are just being built as news sites, but their goal is eventually to get acquired, to get flipped. And so what they're doing is they're writing about everything. And they're writing a very sort of broad over top view that no one really cares about and won't help you by getting quoted in there. They're looking for they'll talk to a tree and quote a tree if they can. So by putting in terms specific to your industry that go deeper than just top level, you're asking it to bring you back a list of journalists who actually write about this for media outlets that matter. So that's the first thing I would suggest. There are services that will then give you the contact information for those journalists, services such as Muckrack, Cision, things like that. They are expensive. Your best bet to finding the contact info for people like that, for the journalists you want, is to partner or work with someone who already has a subscription. Go halvesies, go quartersies, whatever it is. PR Newswire used to have a deal where you could put up to 10 people on an account, and they don't do anymore. I don't think any of them do, but you can still get the information from someone who does have an account. It's a simple search of these databases. I'm a big fan of Muckrack. They are an advertiser on SOS, but I'm a big fan because they have a couple of hundred people working for them overseas who tend to keep up with what the journalists are doing. There's nothing worse than writing a great pitch for a specific outlet for a specific journalist and having it bounce because they don't work there anymore. You also need to understand that the majority of journalists out there are doing, again, 10 times more with 5 times less, and they don't have time for pitches that are off topic or pitches that waste their time. The rule is simple. If you want to use AI, you can use AI to better your pitch, but make the pitch perfect first. Pitch perfect. I see what I did there. So the goal in that regard, I'm going into sort of like a 30-second class on how to pitch the media, but here's what I recommend everyone do when you're pitching a reporter. 3 paragraphs. No more than 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph, hi, here's my name, here's what I do, here's my company. Second paragraph, if you're answering a query from like SOS or something like that, here's why my whatever, answer, product, whatever it is you're trying to hawk, me, is perfect. Here's the answer to what you requested. Bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. Third paragraph, here's how to contact me. It literally does not need to be deeper than that. This is your very, very first date. You're not trying to get into bed with anyone. You're simply letting the reporter know that you have information that will benefit them, help them write their story, and save them time. Okay. I used to send back when I was running PR for agents, back when I was running my agency or when I was doing PR for other companies, I used to send out pitches that read something like, hey, just want to let you know, I know you've written a lot about rocketry or whatever topic I happen to be focused on. Just want to let you know, I have a new client in the space. They did X billions of dollars in revenue last year. They're doing this. They're doing this. No specific pitch here. Just want to let you know to put them in your Rolodex. I'm always happy to help. Feel free to reach out anytime, and I can get them for you on a second's notice. That's the key also. Make sure you're letting the reporter know that, hey, if you do wind up using my source, this guy, this CEO who I work for, who I handle PR for, I have access to him. If you call me and say you want to speak to him, I'll have him on the phone for you in 5 minutes. The biggest problem I hear journalists talking about all the time is that they, someone says, yeah, I have this great CEO. Yeah, I'll get him. Oh, well, he doesn't really want to talk to the media right now. Well, then why was he pitched? Right. And that's a guaranteed blacklist. Journalists share blacklists constantly. There's actually a text file. I've seen it. It's like a gigabyte long now of PR people they'll never work with again. Chris Anderson at Wired used to send out, he called it the PR blacklist, and he was famous for these things. Like, you pitched Wired off topic once, you're on this list. So one of the key things is what I usually do is I write my pitch. I put it into AI. I put it into ChatGPT, whatever, and I say, hey, I'm a journalist with very, very little time, or I'm emailing the journalist with very little time. Make this pitch stronger and tighter. Don't change the words. Don't change the subject. Don't change the keywords that I put in, but make it stronger and tighter. Did I miss anything? Is my grammar right? Things like that. You just want to sharpen it. You don't want AI writing your pitches. You don't want AI doing your PR for you, but it can always clean shit up. Right. I think that is one of the most underrated features of any sort of GTP type concept, is that it'll make whatever you've already written stronger. But if you're writing for shit, it's just going to make it slightly less shittier. I don't recommend that. So I use it anytime I send it up. Hell, I use it anytime I have to email my ex-wife to talk about. I'm dealing with my daughter's bat mitzvah right now. I run everything through. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much, with everything you know about her, how much will this piss her off? Right? It's above 3, I rewrite it. So I think that it's just sort of key to understand that what you're doing you can't have AI do it for you, but you can have it help you. And again, journalists are smart, they're savvy, they understand if it's been written by AI because it just seems the best description I ever heard was that when someone pitches me via AI, it seems too sweet. Like if you expected a coffee with one Splenda and they put five of them in, it just tastes like too much Splenda. And I think that really is a perfect example because I've started seeing people post on social media, like on Facebook or whatever. They think they're being all smart by having, Facebook write or having AI write some really swarmy thing, whether it's political or whatever, but you can tell it tastes too sweet. So some of the best advice I can give you, and I'll give you another really great piece as well. If you're using a service like Source of Sources or anything similar, have a pitch ready. The thing about my email list and the others is that reporters use Source of Sources and they know when their pitch has gone out and hit my list because they will go from 0 to 100 pitches in their email in under 5 minutes. So my emails come out at 6:30 in the morning and 1:30 in the afternoon Eastern time. My recommendation is to have a pitch ready, and then the second you see something that fits, tailor it. Right? The second you see something that fits, add in words into the blank spaces in your pitch that's just waiting to go. So the contact info is already there. Here's who I am part is already there. All you're doing is answering the specific question they have in their pitch, or rather in their query in your pitch. And you create that so that it's already ready. And all you have to do is add a couple of words and then click send or run it through AI to get it stronger and then click send, because it really is a timing game. I know people who set a very specific email chime to my emails, the first one that comes out at 6:30 and then 1:30, so that they are awoken by my email. They read it, they scan it. If there's nothing to respond to, they say they go to the gym, but they probably go back to bed. So make sure that you're answering immediately, because that is hands down one of the best ways to get quoted is to be one of those first 5-10 answers from a source to a journalist. Again, I use AI a lot. So SOS is supported by a small little text ad at the top of each email, and then an even tinier one-line text ad under the table of contents. It's very small, but they work. And when I ask my advertisers to send me their copy, they without question send me too much, right? And so what I use AI to do is, by keeping the same gist of this advertisement, shorten it to 3 lines, make it just as impactful, if not stronger, keep it small. Right. And then I'll look back on it. I'll read it again. I'll make sure it doesn't sound too sweet, and I'll usually use it. It is phenomenal for quick fixes like that, but it is never going to replace the writer in you. It just simply won't. At least not in our lifetimes, I don't believe. I want to answer questions because that's I speak way too fast, and so everyone says, "Oh, I'll give you an hour." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to need it." So happy to take questions or answer more. I can tell you that 94% of the journalists who use Source of Sources do come back, which is a great number. And I think it's because we're pretty tight on blocking people and kicking people out and off the list if they pull some shit. So if you're pitching off topic, if you're spamming, whatever. I'm also not above suing companies who violate our terms of service, who similar companies to what I do, who violate our terms of service by pitching reporters to get them to use their service. So, it's life is a game. But my basic premise is this: journalists do need our help. The more you can offer them in the quickest amount of time to make their jobs easier and do their job faster, the more they'll come to refer to you as a source. It's sort of like online dating in the respect that if they are using Source of Sources and they find a good source for their niche, for their industry, and you have proven to them that you're worthwhile or beneficial, they're going to come back to you directly. Right. So that's kind of what you want to work for and build towards. If you're pitching a journalist just without using any source matching service like mine, one of the things I do suggest, again, use AI to generate those lists and to build those lists of journalists who are working in your field. Make sure you're reading what they write. Just because a journalist is, AI, I've seen it, it'll send you a list of 20 reporters and 4 of them have moved on and they're doing something completely different. And if you pitch the journalist on an old topic, what that tells you is that you're not reading their current work, right? If you pitch someone who writes a column, a newsletter, a blog, anything like that, just do yourself the favor of spending 5 minutes and reading their latest work. It's all available. It's all free. It's all there. Um, I used to have a friend of mine who worked for the Journal, and she would always say, um, she'd keep the pitches that were off topic, and she'd write back, "Hey, got your pitch about whatever product X. Really, really great to hear from you. This is exactly what I cover 10 years ago. So no, I will not be covering you now. Do better." And I like to think that that was a double sort of bitch slap, because not only did it tell them that they're not paying attention, but it gave them the idea that they might actually be covered. And then she just slapped them down. And I always respected that. Peter, can you talk about the event in New York City? Yeah, so I'm running this event for small to mid-sized businesses, but primarily small business entrepreneurs. It's called Small Giants 2026. And I came up with the idea because I got a ton of people who use sources who are like one-man shops, two-man shops. Maybe they've hired their first person and they're building small companies, and this might be their first small company or their 10th, but they feel like there are great resources once you start making a little bit of money. And there are not a lot of resources when you're literally just starting out that don't cost a lot. And I actually found that really funny, because when I sold Help a Reporter Out, that was a game changer for me. I mean, that was, I was shocked when it sold for as much money as it did. I never expected that. But one of the things that came from that was I immediately started getting emails from these masterminds and these sort of conferences. Hey, saw you sold your business. We would love you to join our mastermind for only $50,000 a year. You can get access. I'm like, bitch, if I had $50,000 when I was starting my company, I wouldn't have needed you. The whole reason I needed something was because I didn't have any funds and was just starting out and was, read the fucking room. And so my premise was to create a conference that was helpful and that wasn't full of fluff. So we have about 12 speakers, including people like David, Jeremiah Ouyang, Scott Monty from formerly Ford. We have an accountant. Everyone who comes, we have a photographer who's going to do professional headshots for everyone who comes, right? Just trying to add value to this thing, because there's too much shit out there where people come in and there's no benefit. We have two people talking on AI. We have like I said, an accountant who's going to tell you how to save money on your taxes. We have a travel person who's going to tell you how to save money and how to make sure your flight isn't canceled, or you don't wind up on the back of the plane or underneath it or whatever, says the guy who's going to Malta for a keynote on Friday and knows damn well he won't be able to get back to Newark on Sunday because of the snowstorm coming in, but he's still going. So yeah, we have a ton of people speaking, and they're each speaking 15 minutes, because I don't know about you, but I'm massively ADHD, and if someone's talking to me for more than 15 minutes, I'd lose their attention. I look at half of you have shut off your cameras because I know you're not even there now. You're just like, yeah, whatever. So it's some focus on mental health. It's some focus on actual health. We have one of the top trainers, physical trainers in the country, who's coming in and just telling you about what you can do every single day, even if you never go to a gym, to not die early, right? Stupid shit like standing up, walking treadmill tests, things like that. So yeah, it's going to be in Midtown Manhattan on February 11th, all day, breakfast and lunch. It's going to be pretty fun. And everything I've ever done, everything I've ever built has really been built with the desire to help people, because when you're undiagnosed ADHD all your life and you're told that you're broken your entire life, you tend to want to help people. It's just in your nature, because you don't want anyone else to feel as shitty as you did growing up. So that's what this conference is all about. It's the website is sourceofsources.com/conference. Would love to see you guys there. And yeah, Source of Sources, by the way, is sourceofsources.com. You could just sign up. And like I said, you'll get those 2 emails a day, and they're pretty easy to just read and ignore. But yeah, I'd love to take questions. Yeah, your cat and sure, David. I'd love to take questions and hear what you guys are thinking about, or how can I help with PR and give you some advice on any of that. I'm happy to share whatever I know.
Yeah, and a reminder, if you are like off camera or something and not checking the chat, then you can go to highcaliberai.com/SOS for sources and actually win one of the handful of passes I have to give out, and be great to meet some of you there. And you'll get to meet Peter come on, after seeing this, how would you not want a chance to meet Peter and this amazing crew in person? Feeling really good about my my standing desk setup right now too. Who's okay? Gisela.
Hey there. Yeah, big thanks for the very candid conversation. This is awesome. Peter, I'd love to hear, both with regard to sources specifically, but also in general, how you see imagery factoring into the sort of PR conversation these days. Is it still helpful to attach images, headshots, whatever? Is it the kind of thing you wait to follow up on? Is that possible to even share through sources? All that.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. Because 2 things. Number 1, no attachments ever. If you're emailing a reporter, no attachments ever. That goes without saying. But the second thing, there's something about offering too much information. One of the things that the SEO shops do they all follow the same goddamn playbook. And one of the things that the SEO farmers are doing out of Asia and all that is they're saying, hi, here's my answer to your query. It's totally off topic. This is written by AI. I'm happy to talk to you more. Here's my name. Here's my LinkedIn profile. And here's my headshot. The headshot is hosted by some cloud, whatever. The LinkedIn is fake. And that is a dead giveaway that it is not a real person answering. A lot of what these people do is they buy a website, we will buy your home in Austin, Texas.com, for instance. They try desperately to get some backlinks from media outlets using sources, using Arrow, things like that. When they do, and they get high enough SEO juice, they flip the website to someone else who wants it because now it's backlinked. And if they were smart, they would not all use the same goddamn outline for their emails, because it is literally, here's my information, here's why I think this is useful, here's my LinkedIn, and here's my headshot. And it is 100% the same on every single thing. And you're like, okay, this person does not exist. LinkedIn has a massive fake profile problem. I don't think they have any desire or need to fix it because it probably generates them more revenue somehow, but they have a massive fake profile problem. Some numbers are 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 are fake. It's obscene. Every single SEO farm, the first thing they do is they create a fake profile for this expert, and that's their website expert, and that's what they pitch. So yeah, I think that do not include a headshot. Again, you want to leave them wanting more. It's like a first date at a bar. If I tell you everything about me and I show you my family tree and I give you measurements and whatever, there's no excitement left. We're probably not going to get together for a second date. Where's the magic? Right. But if I leave you wanting more, you're going to come back. If you give the journalist just enough, say, hey, I know my shit. I know what I'm talking about. I'm happy to help you. Reach out anytime. That's enough. They'll come back to you. And here's the thing. 99.999% of the time, no journalist is ever going to need your headshot. If you're lucky enough to get in a media outlet that wants a photo, they're going to send a photographer.
So headshot might have been a bad example, but as someone who previously represented,
you can give them a link to a media kit if you have it. Give them a link to your, here's my website, but no LinkedIn, no headshot. Give them a link to a website. Give them a link to, here's what I do. Here's my company name. Highlight the company name with a URL. But yeah.
As someone who previously represented architecture and design firms, I was very visual medium. To be fair, this was 10 years ago. I would basically be ignored if I didn't include an imagery so that I could get a sense of the quality. But I hear you.
I wouldn't put it in the email. I would say if you want links to high res photos, let me know. Happy to do it. I have a good friend of mine who handles PR for about 85% of the adult industry. It's something he fell into, and he's repped the ABNs for like 15 years. He's an awesome guy, nice Jewish guy out of LA. He's one of my closest friends, and even he has a mailing list that for some reason I'm on, and you haven't really lived until you know that some specific porn star is releasing 2 new anal scenes. I mean, it changes things, but the reason I bring it up is because he is, he knows better than to put photos in, and not even sexual, like just photos of the porn star. He puts them, he says links available on request, high res available on request, whatever. Right. It's just not worth it, because keep in mind also, someone somewhere is reading, one of your journalists is reading this on the subway, and they just went underground and all they got was the first 2 paragraphs. And now the email the rest of it's not loading on their iPhone because they have no service, and it's waiting for the image. If they want images, if they want imagery, if they want quality photos, whatever, of your product, of your this or that, or factory plant, they'll let you know.
So Diane was asking in the chat, she's like, I got local media covered. How to break into national media better?
So if you have local and national media, international is actually, surprisingly, international is easier. For some reason, reporters still want sources from the USA when they're overseas. At this point, I don't know why, but they still want journalists from overseas, or sources from overseas. So one of the best things you could do is start subscribing to a lot of the journalists have Substacks. individual Substacks outside of who they're covering, just start subscribing, start interacting with them one-on-one, start letting them know, hey, I'm here in New York, which, it's New York City. It's not part of America. And I'm happy to give you, whatever you need if you're ever looking for XYZ, whatever. You'd be surprised how many of them will actually respond. Again, it's just, you're not wasting their time. You're saying, hey, I'm a source, or I know I rep a source and I'm happy to help. It works in your industry. Here's what you need. I've made some of my closest journalist connections by doing just that, by following. It used to be that you followed them on Twitter. No, that's not, I don't recommend that anymore. But, Threads, Instagram, Substack, things like that. Just figure out where they are and become passionate about what they're reading, and actually do take the time to read them, because a lot, learning all that stuff is will actually give you a good background on them. And the added bonus of that is that you're then starting to learn it in their language. I don't mean a different language like English versus French. I'm talking about the language the journalist uses when they're talking about their specific beat. There are certain keywords and certain trigger words that you'll find that they're using on a regular basis. If you start using that, it makes you more approachable. I don't want to say Blue Sky is dead, because I don't think it is. There's still a base, but I don't. Most of the journalists I know who went there, as much as we all don't want to be on Threads and don't want to be in a meta product, I was watching the season finale of Landman this morning at 5 a.m. on my Peloton, and I kind of felt the same way. It's like, I don't like that I like that show, but I have no choice but to come back for season 3 in 6 months. So it's the same thing.
I'm still a Skeeter, but also the folks I follow on Blue Sky are like politicians and folks I don't necessarily need to care about if I can reach them or not, or if they pay attention to me.
Brian has a good question here. No, because there's something about the entire email versus one line. I think you get a pass if you use one line, because sometimes that one line is valid. It's the same thing with M dashes. I fucking like M dashes. I think M dashes get a bad rap, but I don't use them. But every once in a while, I'll slip one in. It's not the end of the world. Again, I think there's a difference between writing the entire email, having the entire email written by AI versus, one line. Again, if it's your delve, yes. If it's your voice, they start to know your voice. It's a lot easier.
And Jim misses the word delve. I can't tell you how often I have no random bolding in all my instructions on Gemini and ChatGPT, and I'm always telling it, I said no fucking bolding. Stop. What else do you have for Peter? This is a hell of an opportunity here, so I can ask him a ton. But
here's the thing. I think that I've heard some of these complaints, and I've experienced them myself, like the bolding, the M dashes, the N dashes, and I think that one of the advantages that I have using custom GPTs is that I literally instruct it to speak and respond in the way I choose, including no bolding, unnecessary bolding, and no M dashes. So I think part of the issues that people are highlighting are just lack of training on our part.
Yeah.
But I think one of the challenges I push back on anybody is, like, if there's something wrong with the AI or it's not doing what you want to do, my challenge to anyone is, are you training it? Are you teaching it? Are you building it in a way to avoid those issues?
I think what you're saying is you're basically saying what I'm saying, but in different wording. If you're not, but that's the thing, because if you're training it and you're not a great writer, you're not training it well.
Right. But then you change the role of the way I would frame it is that you change the role of the AI, right? So instead of, a writer for you, it's your editor that can copy check and train you how to write better.
Exactly.
Like, for example, I'm a better speaker than I am writer. So I have a custom GPT that helps me improve my writing and gives me coaching feedback based on the information I give it.
Everyone who's ever worked for me has been allowed to take as many writing classes at local, at CUNY or whatever college as they want, and I'll pay for it, because you can never be too good of a writer. And I'm a huge fan. I still take writing classes whenever I can. I think that I had a teacher. I grew up in New York City. I went to public school here, and I had a teacher in high school who gave me a journal. And she saw something in me and said, you should write more. And to this day, I'm so goddamn thankful she did it. She's actually still alive. I'm taking her to dinner in a couple of weeks. She changed the trajectory of my life. And, if you have any skill at writing, you can always get better. And I think that I mean, I see I see some of the kids in my daughter's class. I see her texts and the things that, I weep for the future in a lot of ways. So I think that, as much as you can do to become a better writer it's never a bad thing.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, David. Sorry.
no, it's just there was someone in the comments say like heard some tips to use voice to help capture voice better. And I will say, like the one thing I've discovered that relates to a lot of what Peter's talked about today is that there are so many things in either one-to-one communication or LinkedIn that I'm intentionally not using AI for. Like Peter, I even actually have gone the opposite way with some of what you've said about cleaning things up, because some of that messiness, like even if it's not all the AI tells and all that, like I feel like some of that messiness is just such a tell that here's a person who's like communicating his ideas well enough, right? But isn't trying to polish this, right? Like it's like so clearly this person that they haven't gotten that exact message today. And I'm like I'm kind of relieved when I know for sure that even just something as simple as a LinkedIn comment, like I'd rather have it be one of those like automated like congrats or like thumbs up things than someone who I know used AI to help them write it.
100%.
Right. I think for me, I look at it a little differently, because the way I look at it is that I'm not writing for polish or to create an extra tone or style, but the way I look at it is like a writing partner. I'm making sure that I'm communicating my ideas clearly. There will be maybe typos, there'll be grammatical mistakes, but the idea for me is that I use AI as a thinking partner and as a writing coach. So that way I can communicate my ideas effectively and clearly, not necessarily to make a polished generic AI slop that everybody's seeing on LinkedIn. So again, it depends on your relationship you have with your AI, I would argue.
It does. I think that, again, though, journalists are sort of a different breed in the respect that they're going to see and they're going to know. If you're able to, like, I've been training my AI to speak in my voice, and it always asks the one thing it always is, and this is probably more of a tell to me, is it snarky enough for you? So
yeah,
but there's something to be said for that,
right? And I've also created voice prompts, and in similar fashion, like you've trained your AI. I've created voice prompts based on the context I'm writing, because it's trained on my writing style, but I have to write in different style and formats depending on who I'm talking to and what I'm talking about. So again, it's a mental training and how you teach it. That's what I'd always push back.
I will say this: the one thing I didn't mention, if I have a second to give just a self promote. So been a keynote speaker now for like 20 years, and I've spoken to companies as big as Morgan Stanley worldwide to like as small as like startups. And I speak on customer experience, and I also speak on neurodiversity. One of the things that I'm finding is that more and more companies are starting to ask themselves what the hell they're supposed to do with their neurodiverse employees. And so I launched a company about a year ago with a doctor friend of mine called Mental Capital Consulting. And we work with companies like Morgan Stanley, Adobe, Google, and a lot of small companies, helping them to create neuro-inclusive environments, because whether companies know it or not, 20% to 30% of their employees are neurodiverse. And if you use what we saw during COVID is that when everyone got to work from home, there was a spike in productivity from the percentage of employees who are neurodiverse, because for the first time in their lives, they got to work the way they wanted to. And then when they came back, it dropped off. So companies are starting to learn that there's a benefit to that. So if I could ever help you out from the neurodiverse side, or if you have a kid who's ADHD, just take comfort in the fact that they're going to take over the world. I've written a couple of kids' books on this and a couple of adult books on this. And,
Peter, I have a question about that, because in the last month, I've talked to 3 different people who introduced themselves as neurodiverse, which I appreciated. And then all of them in a different way said they love AI because it's the only thing that can keep up with them.
Yeah, that's 100%. Absolutely.
And they're doing amazing work with it.
The only downside I would say to that is that I want to get a T-shirt that says this: AI should not be your therapist. I have absolutely no problem. I talk to my AIs all the time. Sometimes it's as stupid as sometimes it's funny as why are people so goddamn stupid? And it's smart enough to go, okay, what happened now? Let's walk through it. Don't stab anyone. But as long as it's not replacing an actual therapist, I think that the rise of these sort of AI therapist programs and the rise of these AI therapist apps, a lot of whom have absolutely zero cognitive training behind it, is dangerous. But in terms of using it because it's that quick, oh God, 100%. I mean,
One woman I spoke with said that she describes herself as having 25 to 100 tabs open in her mind at any time, and AI can handle all of that, and no human can.
My introduction is that I have only two speeds. I have Namaste and I'll cut a bitch, and there's no middle ground. So yeah, very, very much. But yeah, I'm Peter at Shankman.com. I answer all my own email. I'm at Peter Shankman on all the socials except Twitter, and I want to answer Daniel's question because he asked, is my hot take on Meta, considering that they literally shut down the metaverse yesterday. It's not going anywhere. It still has Facebook. It still has Threads. Facebook, as long as old people exist, Facebook will exist. As the Threads, it has Instagram. So it's not going anywhere per se, but I think it's starting to become a little slightly less relevant. I could tell you that I don't keep Facebook on my phone anymore. And if you told me that I wouldn't be doing that 5 years ago, I'd thought you were crazy. And also, I could tell you that from a 12-year-old's perspective, my kids see very little value in social. They're much more private than we were even 10 years ago. The one difference, I'd be curious what Stella says about that, David, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't let my kid on social. The one thing they all do have, and every single girl in my daughter's class, they're addicted to Pinterest.
Oh, it's amazing.
I don't think they thought about that as their target market.
The two brands that have surprised me the most with Gen Alpha, Pinterest and Chick-fil-A. I cannot believe my daughter's in middle school and has this out lunch thing, which got to lunch a number of days a week. And I can't tell you how often the brand Chick-fil-A comes up in the parent group chat, that this is literally what the entire school wanted to know, is Chick-fil-A within the out lunch zone. They're obsessed. And I actually went to take her there on Friday. It was the most entertaining mob scene I've ever seen in a fast food restaurant. And it's just full of 12 and 13-year-olds. It was kind of amazing.
Why do you think Pinterest is so popular amongst?
I think there's a couple of reasons. One of the big ones is that parents, for better or for worse, we think it's okay. Right? It's not TikTok. It's not Instagram. It's not YouTube. So I think for whatever reason, we think it's okay. Mind you, half the content she sees, I'm sure, comes from TikTok on Pinterest. But, if she has a Pinterest board, about the kid likes sewing. My daughter likes sewing for some reason. And she has, 3 Pinterest boards about different stitches. I love that for her. Right. I think the number one reason is for parents is we don't think it's that dangerous. So we let them on. And the second reason is because they can create these Pinterest boards that are only viewable by their friends that we've approved to be their friends. So they don't feel like it's a public, because, Jess is known for as long as I can remember. She's I called her. She was pissing me off on the subway a couple of years ago, and I said, "Jess Shankman, Dad. Now everyone knows my name, and they're going to come up to my house and hack me." That was literally what she was. So I think it's that thing. It's that relative feeling of relative safety.
It is wild, and it's just also so funny where it's so much of Pinterest is just a feeding ground for BuzzFeed slop and really poorly produced crap. But it's then again, I'll get on. Yeah, I'll actually get on there and do the quizzes with her. It's what kind of fruit are you? This stuff is still all over BuzzFeed.
I put my Instagram link. I do a lot of reels with my daughter. We make a lot of fun stuff for when we travel and stuff like that. So feel free to share if you want to sort of some fun eye candy. But no, that's the wrong term. From eye bleach, stuff that makes you happy. I don't know. But right. I have to go catch a flight and then not be able to come home in a few days. So I want to thank you guys for having me. David, thank you for setting this up. I hope I was useful, guys. Feel free to stay in touch and reach out, please.
Yeah, and this is awesome, Peter. Well, safe travels. A lot of us will see you next month.
Yes, I hope to see you guys. I hope you guys show up on February 11th. I think we have about 15 seats available. It's sourceofsources.com/conference. And if you use the code SOS100, it drops a whole bunch of money off the ticket. So feel free to use that for me. and see you guys soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Peter. We'll see you next week with David Levy and stuff like that. So drop a line, anything else you need. Thanks, everyone.